So one problem when talking about data, talking about numbers, is that they seem really abstract. Now, this may seem counterintuitive because we talk about numbers as being specific and real and concrete. We'll say something like, that's just theory, let's see some data. But the truth is that most people go through school believing that math class won't actually apply to real life. I think some of you were reflecting that in your comments at the beginning. And many people don't really deal with numbers in their everyday lives beyond buying things and paying bills. So this can be a real problem when we want to communicate something with or about numbers, especially big numbers. Big numbers present a particular problem. So to illustrate what I mean, let's take an example. Let's take voter fraud. So one data set shows that there have been just over 1,200 cases of vote fraud in all forms, resulting in 1,100 criminal convictions over the past 20 years. Of these, 204 involved the fraudulent use of absentee ballots. 143 resulted in criminal convictions. Okay, so that's a lot of data. It's five different numbers in this one, two-sentence statement. Now, to most people, this means virtually nothing. It's very hard to visualize 1,200 people or things. And it actually seems like a lot. Over 1,000 is a lot. That's actually the opposite of what Charles Stewart and Amber McReynolds were trying to convey in this report, where they were quoting data from the Heritage Foundation and basically making the point that actually this is a vanishingly small number, considering how many votes have been cast in this 20-year period. But that's not what most people will take away from this, because big numbers are kind of a problem. We don't have a very good sense of how big they actually are. So comparisons to real things can really help with this problem. We're going to detour. It's one of the many detours we're going to take away from political issues into a great example that has absolutely nothing to do with politics. Well, almost nothing. In 2011, some of you may remember, Starbucks introduced a new size of drink, and it was called the Trenta. They already had tall, grande, venti. Some of you may know that trenta means 30 in Italian. And the reason it's called that, just like venti, is that they're referring to the number of fluid ounces in the drink size. So health experts were absolutely appalled. They were like, 30 ounces, that is a crazy amount for one person to drink in one sitting, particularly of coffee. That's a lot of coffee, a lot of caffeine. But how many people can really visualize 30 fluid ounces? I know I cannot. Probably several of you cannot. Most people really have no idea what that actually means. So health experts and news outlets who were hoping to warn people needed to demonstrate the amount of liquid in real terms. That is, terms that are real to most people. So here is one example: the human stomach. Average capacity is 900 milliliters, or about 16 milliliters less than a Trenta drink. So in the chat, I would just love to hear, does this work for you? Does this cement the kind of size for you? Be honest. I really want you to be honest. You can just say yes or no. Okay, some people are saying yes, some no. Okay, great, excellent. Sort of, yeah, kind of, maybe. I'm not sure, not really, yeah. Okay, so I'll just say for myself, it doesn't really work. And the reason it doesn't is that how big is my stomach? It's inside of me. I don't know how big it is. It seems small when I eat pizza. It seems huge when I skip lunch. So there was another version that I saw that I absolutely love, and I think works better for most people, which is this. Even if you don't drink wine, you probably do have a tangible idea of the size of a wine bottle. You could visualize it with some accuracy. Even better, we all have some associations with a wine bottle, namely that it's not very healthy for one person to drink an entire bottle of wine themselves in one sitting. So it's a very effective visual comparison that makes the point very real for people. So when we're talking about money or voters or anything else involving very large numbers, it's often impossible for non-experts to make meaning out of what we're saying. For example, $1 billion versus $1 trillion. Most people know that a trillion is bigger than a billion, and that is where it stops. It's very hard for most people to actually accurately compare those two numbers and make any real meaning out of it. So let's look at a couple of other examples of making big numbers real, not just 30 fluid ounces, but many, many larger numbers. So here's one not so serious example. The Economist illustrated the amount of time spent watching Gangnam Style, the music video on YouTube, by comparing it to the equivalent time to build various human-made constructions from around the world. This is a little bit silly, but it's an attempt to convey time scale. And I will say, even though I don't know if that I have like a super clear idea of how many hours people have spent watching Gangnam Style from this, I actually